It's 7 minutes after 7 o'clock here on 97.1 Wadsworth Community Radio. And with the United States Army Golden Knights, we have Major Mark Snowbarger in the studio with us here. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Oh, welcome.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, welcome to Wadsworth. I mean, this was... this kind of dropped out of the air, so to speak.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Intended. Welcome. I mean, how do your guys as a unit feel about, being in Wadsworth and, being at the airport and all that?
Oh, really excited. Me being from Worcester, just down the road a little bit, when we found out we were coming to this area, I was like, all right, how close can I get?
How much
Worcester,
close?
Ohio, yeah. And then and still be able to support the mission. And then one of the things I was really excited about is just showing all the guys my hometown in this area and all the great people. So it's been a great 2 days so far, and looking forward to another 2 more great days.
Let's begin at the beginning. How did you end up coming to Wadsworth? Do people request coming in, or you just kind of go around looking for there's other airports around? How'd you pick Wadsworth?
Well, the team that we have here is the tandem team, and those are the guys that put people on the front and jump. And our biggest supporter, our biggest customer would be Recruiting Command and the United States Army Recruiting Command. So the Cleveland Recruiting Battalion was like, hey, we'd like to get you guys here in the Cleveland area and support us for 3 or 4 days. And we're like, absolutely. So we're not going to do a tandem camp in Cleveland. It's too busy, too close to Hopkins. Not going to do Canton, Akron, way too close to the airport. So there's a lot of restrictions when you're skydiving from 13,000 feet. Mm-hmm. So we look at the map, and I'm like, hey, right here, Wadsworth, Ohio. It's right pretty close to 71. It's right off of 76. So people are coming from other areas. It's not going to be too hard to find. And then we look at the airfield. Does it have a good runway? Great runway, nice facilities. And we'll call the airfield managers and called Chad Holler, and great guy, was more than happy to host us, and we're like, hey, this is our spot.
Well, and again, I'll have to, even with like the city of Wadsworth, with police, fire, EMS, safety forces, all being, our own airport. I mean, that just makes the support from your end and our end much easier to make it a safe location as well. Yep, correct? Absolutely.
Everybody's been great. It's really been nice, and that's why I love this area. Yeah. I was happy to come home.
Well, Mark, I wanted to ask you, if I may, it seems like, the Golden Knights, the parachute team, this is quite a treat to have right here in town. However, this weather is not cooperating for you, is it?
No, not at all. And that's so frustrating. Yesterday, we're sitting there, and we did a test jump with some of the guys, and we put some of our guys in the tandem harness just to kind of test the winds, and it was kind of touch and go. They hit the ground, and they're like, we don't mind hurting one of us, but we don't want to hurt one of these nice people. So we're like, we're not going to do it until the winds slow down a little bit, and they just never did, unfortunately.
So I know you and I were chatting yesterday. Explain a little bit about you going into the wind and the headwind and the logistics of what the wind can be and how you land and why the wind is. I mean, it sounds silly, but why the headwind is important.
Yeah. So yesterday the winds from 1,000 up to 5,000, which is when we'll be under canopy. The winds were right over 40 knots. So we have a forward throw on our parachutes of about 20 knots. So if you're facing into the wind, you're still going to be going 20 knots backwards, which nobody wants to go backwards and try to land. And it's once you go over the DZ, you can't get back because of the wind. So it becomes a real issue of, okay, I missed the DZ. Now I have to look for a safe place to land, and we just didn't want to have to risk that.
Well, and of course, then if you think, okay, so we'll just go further south and come north, now you're hitting the ground at 60. In other words, now you have the tailwind pushing you, correct?
Exactly.
So you have the opposite effect there.
Yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And so that's winds are just, sometimes they're nice. If they're 10 to 12, it's beautiful. 10 to 12 knots is a perfect wind, but anything above 20 gets a little hairy for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, can I ask you about? I think this. So I've gone skydiving one time, and it is really cool, really beautiful. I'm sure that when you're doing this, you've been doing it for so long, and you're beyond professional with it, that you don't, and you can't scream when you fall out of the plane. Like that was the thing that I thought was the most strange, is I tried to and I couldn't. and it's like a vacuum. You know, you get close enough to that edge, and it's just it just sucks you right out. Those were the things that I thought were interesting. But you know, I was reading on the website about what makes the Golden Knights different, and it's not just parachuting. I mean, there are all kinds of things that you do, and with precision, that make you the Army Golden Knights. And I was hoping maybe you could talk a little bit about that in case anyone was not familiar.
Yeah, we have a few teams. So, like I said, we have tandem team here this week, and then we have 2 demonstration teams, gold and black, and those are the guys that will be here at the Cleveland Air Show, the Dayton Air Show. They're the one that we jumped into the Indian Stadium last year. Those guys are, believe it or not, those are our newer jumpers. So those are the guys just went through the Golden Knight selection program, and they might have 600 to 700 jumps initially when they first start on the team, and they'll do that for 2 or 3 years, and they're good though. I mean, they're still really good with precision. You'll see, like, we'll have like a red X on the ground, and every one of them will hit that X regardless of the condition, because we practice so much down at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where these guys are doing 10, 12 jumps a day, and you know, if they're not hitting that X, well, then we have remedial training for them, like, hey, you got to figure this out. And you get real comfortable with your parachute over time, and then you can move on to tandem team, and then we have a competition team that they pretty much go all over the world. They won gold medals last year at the World Skydiving Championships. But we have amazing facilities at Fort Bragg. We have 5 of our very own dedicated aircraft, and we have parachute riggers that their job is just to maintain the parachute. So we have a really big support system that allows us to train so much and be successful.
Okay. How does one get on the team? As I asked you before, we got started with this interview, that you don't go in and when they ask you, okay, what would you like to do? You know, be a member of the Golden Knights. I don't think that's how does one get? Do you eventually apply for the team?
Yeah, absolutely. So everybody starts off just as a regular soldier. You could be an infantryman, an artilleryman, a medic, and everybody has a hobby. And some of these guys, skydiving is their hobby. And once they get 100 skydives is the number that we kind of sit to, they can put in a selection packet. And then once they put the packet in, we review the packets. We usually get about 25 to 35 packets a year, so we don't get a whole bunch. And then we invite them to Fort Bragg for 8 weeks, and they come to our selection program, and they just jump, and then work as a team. It's not just jumping. Like, somebody can show up and you can be an amazing jumper, but if you're kind of a jerk, let's say, or you just don't work well as a part of a team, maybe you're not right for us either. So because we do so much traveling together, and you're on the road all the time.
And PR work as well.
Yeah, and absolutely.
There were little kids out there yesterday. I mean, it's so engaging. I mean, little kids running up. No, I mean, so that's a big part of it as well.
Oh, absolutely, and that's. I'm glad you brought that up. So one of our biggest things too is how do you engage the public? Are you sociable? So all that's assessed over 8 weeks, and then afterwards we're like, hey, congratulations, you made it. Welcome to the team, and you'll start training with us, and that's pretty much how it works. And so all the background of all the guys is completely different. Of course, just like the Army, people from all over the United States, people from different jobs, but we all come together, and then once you're on the Golden Knights, you can stay as long as you want. It's not like a normal military job where it's like, okay, 3 years, now you're going to move to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Okay, 3 years, oh, guess where? Now you're going to Korea. Once you make it on the Golden Knights, because of the skill set that we need, you can stay there. And we've got guys on the team that one gentleman's been on the team since 1994, jumping. That's what he's been doing. And then on the average, probably most of the guys have been on the team probably 10 to 12 years is the average right now.
Wow. So are there applications that the Golden Knights have through all of your training, through all of those jumps that you do and all of that you pass along, or that you have learned over time, that kind of, I don't know, regular Army or guys who have different jobs that require them at one point or another to jump out of a plane? Is some of that transferred over or help other divisions?
Oh, absolutely. We everybody knows the Golden Knights. When you talk about skydiving, like
absolutely
name a skydiver. That's the Army Golden Knights. So we do a lot of joint training. So we'll do, and we go to Florida every year to Homestead. We train for 2 months because, the weather's really nice. It's a great area. And while we're down there, we'll do a joint training week. And we'll bring in all the other jump teams. So we'll bring in the Navy Leapfrogs. We'll bring in the Army Black Daggers, the Air Force Wings of Blue, the British Red Devils. They'll all come, and we'll have this, giant skydiving symposium, and we're kind of the primary trainers. And we'll teach everybody from how to do canopy relative work, how to do accuracy landing, you name it. Our guys teach it. Our guys not only are good just like jumpers, but then they're good instructors. And in skydiving, just like with anything, there's different ratings that you can get. There's different courses, and our guys go to all of them. And so we train a lot. We train a lot of other skydiving teams.
And of course, a lot of that, came, into the PR end of it. I mean, that's originally what the Army's job is. I mean, you paratrooped into war zones and things like that. So of course, that's part of the job, and so that's obviously where a lot of originally this came from.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. When you're jumping into Progressive Field, or any stadium, which is a part of what the Golden Knights do for public. I understand all that. How difficult is that when you're so far up and you see that little thing down there and you got to land?
Of course, when you're next to Lake Erie, where there's a little bit of a breeze coming in at different times off the lake, which changes.
I mean, how much prepreration goes into that to know that you're supposed to land on second base? Let's say, or how is that a training for a one-time thing, or do you know how to do like a precision landing like that?
Well, again, when we're down in Florida, we have some local facilities that we use to where we go and we'll train at some stadiums when there's nobody else there. Because some of our guys, you have 100 skydives, you've been jumping at Laurinburg, huge field, you're going to come in nice and easy. Now, all of a sudden, you're jumping into a stadium today, and there's lights, and there's all kinds of these obstacles, and the wind, and some of these guys, it's like really, really nervous for them the first couple times. And then when you get into the big stadiums like Progressive, and I was there last year, I was the guy up on the light set because we have to get wind readings from as high as you can because we need to know what the winds are. We call them uppers. And then there's a guy on the ground, usually right behind second base, and he's on the ground. Well, the winds, what they're doing above the stadium as opposed to what they're doing inside the stadium where they swirl and do some weird things like that. That's what those guys have to take into consideration. So last year they came in right over center field over the flags and started kind of going down over left field. Well, as soon as they came in, you could see the canopies kind of start bouncing. So they were hitting some wind, some rough wind.
Yeah, right.
And they got to kind of take that in. And then once you're in that bowl, that stadium, there's no outs other than the field. And you have to be able to turn, hey, which way the winds are landing, because I don't want the wind at my back when I come in, because I'm going to wipe out in front of 50,000 people and look silly. And we're not allowed to look silly. We can't.
Well, once you are, after,
So, and that's one of the big things is it's one of those things where perfection all the time. Excellence will be tolerated, but we strive for perfection on every jump because. Yeah, we can't.
When you figure too, like you said, in the wind swirling. I mean, when you go down into a bowl like that, the winds could disappear at some point. I mean, just depending upon how they're coming across the lake, or if they're coming not over the lake from in. Once you get in the bowl, it may disappear. So all of a sudden, whatever's driving you up there, all of a sudden is gone. And I mean, you're not going to fall like a rock, but I'm saying all of a sudden, once you get below the lights. The roadway totally changes for you.
Yep, absolutely. And Progressive being an open stadium, not so bad. But we've jumped into Houston Texans where it's a roof with a hole in it.
I was going to ask about those. Yeah,
right into the hole.
Yeah,
and that's really tricky. And our guys are like, we'll give it a shot.
We'll give it a shot.
So. You can't miss. I mean, I know you strive for perfection, but that's even making it harder to to come into a place like that. Can you talk about you're jumping into a down? There are a lot of buildings. There's a freeway next next to the at least in Cleveland. is that all? Do your jumpers kind of have to adjust on the fly? I'm going this way. I gotta get myself back another way or that.
The chutes are very responsive, very maneuverable. So you have a lot of control. It's not like the bigger chutes they don't, but these guys, their chutes are very maneuverable. And when we land into a normal area, let's say it's not a stadium, we only give them a little 100-foot by 100-foot square. So not much bigger than like a little league infield.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's where you have to land, and that's what they train on. Because when we go to some of the shows where we're in Miami Beach later this month, they're going to lay out a square that big, and there's people all around that square. You can't land in the people. Like you have to hit that square.
Mm-hmm.
So when we train, if they ever land outside the square, we're like, good job. You just landed on a baby carriage.
Yeah, right.
Or something like that. Like, great to go. You just crushed a little boy.
Right.
And
which is very possible. Which it's a realist, right?
Mm-hmm. But
and a lot of people that that are older, or whatever. I mean, some idea. If you've never seen one of the performances, I mean, your images are paratroopers coming into Normandy, where there's it's the mushroom type shoot, and the only little bit of control you had was tugging on the side, and there was no control. Obviously, the chutes you use, as you say, are very maneuverable, but you're still a leaf in the wind.
Yeah, absolutely. There's conditions and it's winds, and I've been with the team now a little over a year, and I've been I'm shocked sometimes. I'll be on the ground, and I'm like, oh, there's no way today. I'm like, oh my goodness, he just landed like literally the size of a pizza, every one of them, both feet right on top of it, one after another. I'm like, golly. And then I'm
these guys are good.
These guys are really that good.
How big is? How many team members are here in Wadsworth for this particular show, and how many team members are there for the overall Golden Knights?
So here we brought 11 guys here, and so we have 8 guys that just do the jumping. So every day 6 guys are going to be jumping. You have a video guy and then the tandem jumper, and they'll work together as a team. And there'll 3 sets of them, so they can do 3 people each lift. And then we have a guy on the ground who will give the class. We have to give a class every morning, and he gives the video class. He teaches people how to put the harness on, talks about proper exit, stuff like that. And then we have a guy that's in a video room, and he does the editing. So when the guys come down and they have the video guys with the cameras on their heads and everything, they give him their little flash drives, and he starts editing a video. And within 15 minutes, that passenger is leaving with pretty amazing video. I'm surprised how fast they do it. And then the next day they'll rotate. All right, you're on video today. So every guy can do the jumping job. He can do the tandem job. They can do the video job. He can be the editor. They're all, it's not like one guy can only do the editing.
And see, I was going to ask about that only because that's got to help all aspects of that being a better experience, because the guy doing the video is one thing, then the guy doing when he goes to do the editing, he realizes that when he was doing the video, I could have, should have done this, which makes it a better experience for the tandem fly. So it works. It's good to have everybody in all positions then.
Oh yeah, at the end of the day, we do really good debriefs where we'll show up and we're like, hey, watch this video today, guys. This right here is where Brian kind of exited a little long, and when he exited, we didn't get a good video, and then the customer's leaving with a bad video. And then we have 2 pilots that come with us. We have an amazing aviation company with those 5 aircraft. We have amazing pilots. So 2 of those guys are here, and then I'm here. I'm like the headquarters guy and oversee, and I just kind of engage with the recruiting battalion. When the guys are working and somebody has questions, I'll kind of go over and kind of keep them away, not keep them away from the jumpers, but let the jumpers do their jumping jobs, and I'm the guy that kind of does the schmoozing and the talking and stuff like
gotcha.
that. Yeah. And so that's tandem team. We only have one tandem team. That's who we brought. And then we have those gold and black demonstration teams, and right now we have 12 guys on each one of those teams. So those guys, black team is coming to Cleveland. So when they come back to Cleveland, they'll have 10 guys jumping, and then they'll have one guy that works the ground, and then that other guy, because our training cycle and our show basically starts in mid-March and goes all the way to December, that extra guy, maybe he gets to take some leave. hey, you're not going to go to this show. You get some time off. So we're able to like cycle so guys get some time off. And then we have the competition team, the 8-way competition team. There's 9 people on it because you got 8 jumpers and then the 1 video guy. And then we have a vertical formation skydiving team. And these guys basically just go head down to the earth, in a cluster of 4, 180 miles per hour, doing flips and turns and all kinds of other stuff.
Okay.
And those are our teams. So right now we have 5 teams, and right now we're about 102 people. We have a few civilian contracted civilians, but 102 right now are in the battalion.
Yeah. So the folks who fly you, the pilots, they are not military people. These are private pilots, for lack of a better term.
No, a little bit of both. In fact, both gentlemen here we have Chief Joey Baker, he's CW4, and CW3 Troy Emig. They're both active duty Army aviators. They have a captain who's kind of runs the aviation detachment, and then we have about two more chief warrant officers who are active duty, and then we have about 6 civilian, we call them contracted civilians.
For maybe some of the airplane aficionados that are listening, can you tell us a little bit about the aircraft that you fly?
So here we brought the Twin Otter with us, and we have a total of 3 Twin Otters, and we use those pretty much for all the tandem camps. And then right now back at Fort Bragg, we have a Dash 8, the de Havilland Dash 8, and then we have a Fokker, which I don't know, it might be the only Fokker left in use right now in North America. It's a very old aircraft. We had another Fokker we just turned into the boneyard last fall. This one will be going to the boneyard this fall, and then we're getting another brand new Dash 8. And the guys love the Dash 8. It's so fast, and it gets to 13,000 in just over 6 minutes. The Fokker and the Twin Otter, it takes like 15 minutes to get to jump altitude. And for us, it's just like, boring, But the nervous passengers, they're all looking out the windows are we still going higher?
Now, once you, and again, they're probably a little bit different, but like on the tandem teams, once you're up there, from jump to ground, what are you looking at? 4, 5, 6, 8 minutes? What's the time frame of the actual experience for the tandem?
I would say it's at least 4 to 5 minutes, where they're going to get the 45 seconds to about a minute of free fall.
And then if they're still conscious,
and then then they'll throw shoot, and then shoot opens up, and then they'll get another 2 to 3 minutes, kind of depending on winds too, and then how heavy the passenger is. A lighter passenger is just going to float up there for a while, and then so about 3 minutes at least. And once the canopy opens and everything's good, our jumper will hand the toggles to the passenger and be like, hey, you want to steer for a little bit? And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. And they'll just, it's just like pulling a little cord, and they'll just pull the cord left, and you'll turn left, and we'll let them steer for a little bit. And then when we get ready to kind of do our final approach and landing, all right, we need these back.
Yeah, we'll take it from here.
The planes that you have, I'm guessing you have folks who constantly keep those up, because that's obviously the plane is crucial to what you do, and I'm guessing these are kinds of things that you go over every day to be sure that what you're flying in is everything is going to work.
Oh, absolutely. We have now all our maintenance people back at Fort Bragg are civilians, our aircraft maintenance people, and they are amazing, because our aircraft, every day, birds are somewhere. And every time I go down to the hangar, there's a bird in the hangar. Oh, yeah, we're doing this. We're like, oh, my gosh, is it going to be ready by Friday? Absolutely. We're not going to miss this mission. And then next day you come in, and that bird's done, and there's another bird in there. They're always doing something. And it's in our aircraft, you're like, wow, you guys got some brand new aircraft. Like, no, that one's about 13 years old. And like, it looks brand new. Just our maintenance guys, and then we have some crew chiefs they start like Black Hawk crew chiefs or Chinook crew chiefs. Again, they get selected because they're so good to come to the Golden Knights and be crew chiefs for us. And the good thing is like, if you don't perform every day, you're going back.
Right.
And so these guys, it's like you fight to stay there, and so it's pretty amazing.
Like when I go on vacation in the car, I don't have to worry about where to stop to get fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like when you go to certain areas, I mean, are you able normally to use aircraft fuel at the airport? Do you have to bring a lot of your own supplies like that, or how does that work?
No, with fuel, we just use what's called contract fuel. Okay. So when we come into Wadsworth, they're like, hey, do you guys have contract fuel? And they'll be like, yeah, absolutely. So we're good to go. There's other places where they're like, no, we don't have contract fuel, and I don't understand how all that works. Right, I just know to ask for it. And then as far as breakdowns and stuff, honestly, I have not seen an aircraft breakdown yet. Been on the road. Like now, when I was regular Army jumping and we would travel on a C-130, be like, oh, hey, we're going to be stuck here about 2 days because, the Wickham-Majigger valve is busted. And we're like, is it only because we're like in Hawaii? They're flying a part in from the States, and you're like,
you didn't break down in Minot, Wisconsin.
But that's never happened with us. And we go to some really good places. I'm like, is there sure you guys, there's nothing broken on this plane? But
how does do you perform every week, or do you get some downtime, or is your unit, you going from here, you're in Bloomington, Indiana, or someplace like that next week?
So tandem team, these guys we've been riding these guys pretty hard since March, since we got back from our winter training in Florida. They're here in this area now, and then they will fly from here directly out to Salt Lake, and they'll be in Salt Lake City for 4 days, and then they'll leave Salt Lake and they'll go to Colorado Springs, and they'll be at Fort Carson for another 3 or 4 days, and then they'll get to come home, but they're only home for about 4 days, and then boom, we're sending them on the road again, and then they're going to, I think, Michigan Great Lakes Support Great Lakes Battalion, and then from Michigan they're going to Fort Knox. So they're really traveling. Our demonstration teams, they're pretty much weekend guys because most air shows are on the weekends and stuff like that. Right. So their weekends per se are like Tuesday, Wednesday. So they'll leave on a Thursday, they'll get somewhere on Friday, they'll do some practice jumps if the show wants it. Saturday and Sunday they're jumping. Monday they fly home. Tuesday and Wednesday there's your weekend. Enjoy it. And so they don't do too many what we would call loops unless we send them out west, to where black team out, they're going to go to Portland in September. They're there for the weekend. They fly down to San Diego. They do a show in Miramar. From there, they go to Prescott, Arizona. So they're going to have the week that we need to fill. And what we'll usually do is we'll reach out to the U.S. Army recruiting local battalion and be like, hey, Golden Knights are in your neighborhood. Let's do something, And they're like, yeah, absolutely. And we'll jump into high schools, and one of the fun things that we'll do with the high schools is we'll be like, every high school has to do their mandatory evacuation drills, like active shooter or fire drills or whatever. And so we're like, hey, just tell the kids you're going to be doing your fire drills. And then they get them out into the stadium and they start doing manifest, look up. And they're like, oh my God. And the next thing you know, we're jumping in and, the guys have red smoke and flags and they land in the stadium and the kids are going nuts. All right, who wants to join the Army? Right. And that works really well, And so, and then the guys will stay. Our demonstration teams will, once they jump, they'll stay and they'll, bring kids out and, hey, can you help me pack my chute? And even when we're in Cleveland, we'll lay the chutes out. Like, we don't take the chutes back to the plane and pack in private. We take the chutes and go over to the Army Recruiting Center where they're set up and they got little pull-up bars and cool stuff. Lay the chutes out, and there'll be like, little 4 or 5 year olds. Hey, little buddy, come over. You want to help me pack my chute? And the parents are taking pictures and they're helping, and then afterwards they're like, "Are you guys going to go repack these?" I mean, no, we're good. He did a good job.
Yeah. And the parents are nervous watching the news for the next couple of weeks. Yeah. Well, I know you just again talking about the PR though. I know being out there yesterday, of course, there were some little kiddos out there and just lit up like a Christmas tree when they got to see some of the equipment. And then, of course, too, with the winds, you didn't jump, and immediately everybody out on the runway there opened the plane up. Little kids sitting in the cockpit and everything else. I mean that. And again, I just have to tout you guys coming here to Wadsworth, for all the good reasons. You don't get to have a lot of those experiences in some of the other areas where you're at.
Oh,
so
I've said that a lot too, where we'll go to an air show like Chicago, Miami, and it's so big it becomes like, I don't know, impersonal maybe or something.
Because even if you tried to do that, I mean, you can. I mean, when there's 10,000 people there, you just can't. You couldn't do it if you wanted to.
No, absolutely, and it's and some of my favorite shows have been the small ones where we've been to like Maple Grove, Wisconsin. I'm like, I don't even know, and we go there, and there's like 700 people. But they're out there waving flags, and the little kids have their faces painted up. Everything's red, white, and blue. And you're like, oh my God, this is why I love America. And we'll jump in, and those kids just love it, and it's like amazing. And then they're like, hey, we've got barbecue, come on in, and it's like they bring you into their community, and it's a potluck, and you're like, this is awesome. You go to Miami, and it's like, hey, there's a box of turkey sandwiches over there for you guys.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Is there ice for this water? And it's like, no, get ready. You got another show in 4 hours, and it's like, darn it. But the little shows, the little towns are the ones that I personally really like to go to.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday because, Burke is the one that we're most familiar with because, it's here every year. And then it's like, okay, when you exit the building, it's like, how far out do you want to go to see you guys? And, it's like, well, you don't want to be right outside the building. So, and you keep going, and it's like, God, you could be a ways away. I understand that you're covering thousands and thousands of people, but yeah, I can see where some place where somebody can just like walk right up and almost like touch, touch the plane or touch you or shake hands, or that would be one that would be really. Would be really special, where you're able to kind of put names to faces and that.
Yeah. Like when we do Cleveland, you kind of land out there, and you're not. I mean, you're in front of the crowd, but it's not like when we do the little ones where it's a little square and you land, and the silk parachute almost goes over the line, and you're standing. The little kid's 2 feet away, and he's like, "Oh my God!"
The little breeze from the chute hits him, and he's like, "Wow!"
But the big shows, like Cleveland and. The thing that I like with the air shows, or that we bring to the air shows, is, okay, hey, there goes the pilot, and they're flying around loop-de-loop, and some of the stuff they do is phenomenal. But we land right there in front of you and walk through the crowd, and they're like,
oh wow.
So it's like, oh my gosh, that's a real person, and then we interact with the crowd, and the pilots can't really do that, but we can.
Right.
And so...
well, and even, for example, I don't remember if it might be maybe both of them do, I don't remember, but and like when even the Thunderbirds or the Blue Angels come in, it might be the Thunderbirds, they can't even land at Burke. So they'll fly in from Hopkins, and you'll see them perform, but I mean, the Blue Angels, I do think, take off from there, so you can kind of see them from a distance coming out in their formation and getting in the planes or whatever, but some of the other ones, I mean, they can't even, they have to take off from Hopkins, so you can see them in the air, but is there really, it's one of those for the little kid, is there really somebody in that, the little kids might think it's a drone or something, with today's technology, but you're right, that up close and personal is just something that some of the other performers don't get the experience like you guys do.
Absolutely, and that's the whole reason we pack with the kids, like, hey, then they'll say, the Golden Knights are going to be packed into the Army Center, and come over and help, and bring them in, and we'll 2 or 3 kids, hey, pull this line here, fold this here, and that's great, and then we always have, like, we call them licky chewies, but stickers and pins and stuff to give out to all the kids.
Oh yes,
that's pretty cool,
right? Mark, do you know? Well, since you're going to be here through Sunday, any idea? They can look at our Facebook page, of course, to see when you're doing. But if they don't have that, do you have? Kind of times when the team is going to be flying and jumps are going to be taking, or is that kind of weather dependent every day?
It's weather dependent, but every day we have our start time where showtime at 8:00, right there at the airport, and then at 8:30 we start the class. So today we'll have 15 brand new people. We'll give them the same class we gave yesterday. Cross our fingers and hope that the clouds blow away and the ceiling rises a little bit. But it'll be it's the same time for today, Saturday, and Sunday. And then
so it'll be that last jump right around 11 o'clock typically. If the I'm saying if the weather permits. I mean that's normally your.
It's about 30 minutes per lift, so 5 lifts. Yeah, usually we're done by lunchtime. 1 o'clock is usually when we're done, and then we just kind of go from there.
All right. Okay. Very good. Wow, well, we really thank you coming in this morning. We really appreciate it.
It's great to be here. I was really excited last night talking about it. We took the team to Coachy House Pizza down in Worcester.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, hometown,
so,
come on down.
I'm sure today, everybody's just going to be. I didn't even eat breakfast. I was like, I ate so much pizza last night, and they were all like. And it's funny. We the team leader for this team, so our first class Hackett, his wife's family is from this area as well. So. Just when I got on the team and we were talking, like, oh, my dad ran into, your aunt down at Coachy House, oh yeah. And then Jimmy's like, hey, could you bring me some pizza? So now, whenever I come home to
they
Worcester,
want Coachy pizza.
They're like, hey, bring me some Coachy House pizza.
That's your job, yeah.
And I'll do those half-cooked Coachy House pizzas, and I'll put them in the car, bring them down to Jimmy, and he's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
And so now, the whole team was there last night, and they're like, how often do you come back up here?
Well, that's great. A little bit of our part of the world that you're able to spread around.
Oh yeah,
that's great.
I was hoping I could get them down to like Wilmot and Mount Hope, and through Amish country.
Oh yeah, right.
I'd love to take them to Mrs. Yoder's Kitchen. Some of those places.
Some of the cheese houses. Yeah.
I'm hoping but I don't want the jumps to get canceled.
Yeah. Well, very good, Major. Thanks again for coming in. We really appreciate it. Thanks again. 43 minutes after 7 here on 97.1 Wadsworth Community Radio.
You're listening to Tom and Tina. Tom and Tina on Wadsworth Community Radio.